All right.
Looks live.
Yeah, we are live. So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our pop up business talk. For those of you joining us for the first time, these streams are designed to bring fresh insights and practical advice directly to the business community. My name is Diana Spinka. I'm the producer of the stream. And as always, we're here with our host, Victor Nichols. Hello, Victor.
Hello.
And today we are thrilled to welcome Kevin Schulman, a sales and entrepreneurial coach, successful businessman, and author of the book Goal Setting Bootcamp, Getting from Where You Are to Where You Want to Be. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us. Could you please share what motivated you to write this book?
I'm sorry, share.
Oh, what motivated you to write the book?
Oh, I have been a fan of goal setting for many decades. There's a story, and it's funny. A lot of people know it. It turns out it's urban myth, but apparently, back in the 1950s, late 50s, this is called the Yale story. There was a group that interviewed the graduating class of Yale, which we can assume was a bright group, and they gave them a 100-question survey. And two of the questions were, do you currently have long and short-term written goals? And two, do you currently have plans to achieve those goals? And of the graduating class of Yale, which we think are a bright group, only 2.5% said that answered yes to those two questions. 20 years later, 1978, they went back to that same group and did a new study, asked them a new 100 questions. And one of those questions was, what is your current net worth, assets over liabilities? And when they went back and examined the data, the 3%, I'll call 2.5, I'll call them 3, that had long-term goals and plans for achieving them in writing, had a net worth greater than the other 97% combined.
Wow.
And when I read that in the late 70s, I said, that stuff works. I got to get into that. And that's when I became a goal setter.
Yeah, I got to get into that.
Do you have a personal story where how your life changed or transformed from before and after starting doing goal setting?
Oh, everything changes. As soon as you start putting it on paper, everything changes because that makes it real.
Okay.
Right. But there are so many goals I can think of. One of my favorite stories is a friend of mine called me up one day, and close friend, and he said, hey, I've decided what I'm going to do next year for my 50th birthday. I said, really? What are you going to do? He said, I'm going to go to Africa and climb Kilimanjaro. I said, cool, I'm in. When do we start? When do we go? And that was just a personality quirk of mine. I didn't realize that meant I had to get my sorry ass into shape, that I had to spend a significant number of dollars, that I had to take a few weeks off of work, that I had to explain to my wife that I was going to be expending all those dollars and taking time off without her. And all this stuff happened. But we had the goal. And once we had the goal, I put a plan together to make it happen. And it was absolutely one of the most satisfying things I've ever done. And there's a lot of stories that go around with it. In fact, there's another one that was part of it. I was at the annual fundraiser for my wife's school. My wife worked at a school for severely multiply handicapped kids. And there was a guy getting an award for, like the Man of the Year award, because he raised some money by running the New York City Marathon, and people were paying him $1 a mile to run the marathon. And I looked at my wife, and this was about 3 or 4 months before we were going to go up the mountain. I said, geez, if people will pay him $1 a mile to run a marathon, surely they'll pay me a penny a foot to climb a mountain. And so we just decided to do it. It was a spur of the moment thing, but again, put a plan together, and we ended up raising $25,000 for the school. And it was just a cool thing to do, but it doesn't happen until you start by setting a goal.
Right.
That's an excellent story.
Yeah, it's very inspiring. So where do we start? Everybody has some dreams everybody has dreams. Like, how do we transform a dream from a goal? Like from a
The
dream to a
difference
goal?
between a dream and a goal is a good question. So there are two big mistakes that people make in goal setting. Maybe three. First is they do it on New Year's Eve when they're drunk, and goal setting is serious business. It's not something to do when you're drunk.
Oh damn it! So all my
Sorry.
61 other ones are no good, huh?
Sorry, Vic. So mistake number one is they say, I got my goals right here, right in my head. I can tell you what my goals are. Until you put it in writing, it's just a dream. Until you put it in writing, there's no commitment. Until you put it in writing and put a date on it, it's just a dream, because a goal without a date is just a dream. So they must be put in writing, and plans must be put in writing. And, you know, I said on LinkedIn while you were promoting this podcast, Vic, and I know you've said this, and the first time I heard this was Dave Sandler said it to me about 25 years ago. He said, people will spend more time planning a 2-week vacation than they will planning their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the book, I call it boot camp, because it's a weekend job to do it.
Right.
It's sit down and really work on it and put it in right. And you can plan your life and you can make stuff happen. So the other big mistake that people make is they start with their business goals. I'm going to grow my business 25% this year. I'm going to make an extra $50,000 this year. I'm going to do whatever. And those are just numbers, and numbers are hard to commit to. One of my favorite stories, I tell this a lot, it was a few years ago. It was about, I'm going to say February, March, like first quarter. And I ran into a client I hadn't seen in a while, business owner. I said, how's business? What's going on? And what kind of a year are you having? And he said, we are absolutely committed to 20% growth this year. I said, that's pretty good. I said, let me ask you a question. What happens if you only end up with 15% growth? He said, oh, I'd be happy with 15%. That's pretty good. So with one question, he gave up 25% of his goal.
Yeah, right.
That he wasn't as committed to it as he thought he was.
Yeah.
And it's because it was just a number. Numbers in and of themselves aren't motivating. The thing to do is start with your personal life. What do you want your personal life to look like? And I look at 3 time periods: a year from now, 5 years from now, short-term, long-term, and retirement goals. And yes, Diana, even at your age, you should have retirement goals.
That was my next question.
Long-term, short-term, and retirement, 1 year, 5 year. And by 1 year, it could be for tomorrow, or it could be anything up to a year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And anything up to 5 years. And it's interesting. We find that goal setting more than 5 years out, the brain has a hard time wrapping themselves around something that far out. That's really specific. So even though retirement goals may be 20 or 30, most of your goals should be 1 year, 5 years. And look at your personal life in all different areas of your life. Yes, financial goals, of course. Stuff goals. We all want stuff, right? Certainly Vic wants stuff. I know that. But all sorts of other areas in your life, family goals. I joke that my wife has shoe goals. Problem is, she's probably hearing me say that.
Probably.
But it's not so crazy. Educational goals, spiritual goals, health and fitness goals, hobby goals. Although goal setting only works for yourself. You can't have goals for somebody else. So all my goals for the New York Jets have never worked. It's never going to happen because they're not mine.
Keep it up.
I can try, but it won't work. So once you start with setting all your personal goals in different areas of your life, then you can say, okay, what do I need to do in my business to get that lifestyle? And now those goals have meaning, and now I can commit to them. And now I'm not just arbitrarily saying I want to do 50% more. I'm saying I want to do 42.3% more because that's going to get me my second house in 5 years. And that's going to get me a pool in my backyard next year. And that's going to get me to do this, and that's going to get me the free time to go back to school to get my next degree. And all that stuff that I can commit to because it's important to me.
So it's more like psychological twist, right? When you start with your personal goals, like you feel the need, right? You're like, okay, I don't make enough money for this, and that, so I have to. So you get this motivation, this fire.
Exactly. Goals work on your head, but you can also get outside help. It doesn't have to be all you.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny. I'm so glad you brought that up because one of my questions as you were talking, while I was looking down, I was making some notes of things I wanted to ask you. Should you share your goals with other people? And I'm dying to hear what you have to say about this. Because
so we call this burning your bridges. And now most of us have heard never burn your bridges. It's a bad thing. And I'm telling you, it's a good thing. Burning your bridges to us means going public with your goals.
Mm-hmm.
Going public with your goals. You see, it's one thing for me to have a goal to get a new car this year. It's a whole other thing when I tell my next door neighbor that by Christmas he's going to see a new Mercedes in my driveway. That's a whole other level of commitment on my part.
Right. Because now somebody else knows. And they'll also know when you failed.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, and that's putting a little extra pressure on yourself. And that's okay. Self-imposed pressure is fine. Oh, I'll give you a personal example of that. And it's a car story. Hadn't thought of this in a long time. This goes back to 2002, I think. The lease was coming up on my car. And I was thinking about what car am I going to get next? I had about 2 months left on the lease. And the first thought that went through my mind is, I'm blessed. I can afford whatever I want. I'm going to get the car I've always wanted. And then I said, nah, I've got to earn it. So I went and remember, I do sales training for a living, right? So got to take that into account with what I do for a living. I went in front of all my clients and I said, listen, I'm currently have 4 large prospects. And I gave them the names of the 4 prospects, names of the companies. I said, if I close 3 of them in 2 months, you're going to be seeing me driving a 911 convertible. If I close 2 or fewer, you'll see me driving something else. And you can ask me and feel free to ask me how I'm doing with the 4 prospects. Now, given what I do for a living, was there any way I wasn't closing them all?
You put yourself in like, you're like, okay, I got to make this.
I got to tell you, Vic, I never worked so hard in my life to close business as I did those 4 clients. But that was having a goal, what I wanted personally, putting a plan together, and going public with it ensured it's happening.
You know, so I have another question related to that, and it's actually a car. Ironically enough, I guess because we're guys, it's a car thing. But what happens when you, because this happened to me, when you set a goal and then you actually achieve the goal,
exceed it,
or achieve or exceeded the goal,
right?
But you decided that the goal is no longer something that you want.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. You know, people ask me, do I always have to raise the bar?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is no. If you get to a point where you're happy and content, and listen, there are some people when they make $1 billion, they're just compelled they have to get the second billion.
right. Right, exactly. That's the next step, right?
Because that's the next step. There are other people that forget $1 billion that when they get whatever's going to make them comfortable in retirement, whatever their plan is, when they get, it's okay, done.
I just
Now that doesn't mean you don't have goals in other areas of your life.
That's it, and that's what I think I'd love people to hear, because I had set a goal, and it was years back, and I wanted to get a particular car, and I'm like, I put together a little fund, and I put money into it, and whatever, and then lo and behold, the day came where I had the money, and I'm like,
Right.
I don't even want that freaking car anymore. So you know what I mean? So
Well,
I took the money. Put it into,
here's one of my favorite goal setting stories. Goal setting, it's so powerful. And Diana, you were talking about it being psychological, right? When I was 20, one of my goals was to have a Ferrari 308 by the time I was 30.
Oh, damn, I wish you would have done that. That's a cool car. But go ahead.
Right? Sexiest car ever made, right? Without question. Without question. And if you're not familiar with it, go look it up. Just Google.
That's what I'm doing right now.
Give you many pictures.
Awesome automobile.
And now a lot of things happen between 20 and 30 years old, right? First of all, the price of a Ferrari goes up.
Rule number one.
A lot. And by the way, as a goal, it was not to go in and take a loan or lease it. It was to go in with a bag of money and say, give me the car.
Right.
But a lot of things happen. The Ferrari becomes much less important. Family goals come in. House and diamonds become more important. Diana would understand that. And other things become much more important. And I had, quite frankly, forgotten about the Ferrari. When I woke up on my 30th birthday, there was a red 308 parked in my driveway that my wife had rented for the weekend and along with an inn up in the Poconos so we can go drive in the mountain roads and have a good time. And I had never told her that having that Ferrari by the time I was 30 was important. And there are very few things that ever reduced me to tears, but that got me.
That's amazing.
And I have no idea how that happens, but it happens.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
And that's the power of goal setting.
I think goal setting is kind of the crux of so many things, like you said, and starting out personally, I think is so important. And we all need it. I don't care how far you are or how advanced you are in your career and how much you know and all those things. The fact that you have really spent the time and looking into the importance of goal setting and how that can change your entire life, right? And it can change your entire life.
So entire life. Let me tell you, one of the most important things you can do for your kids is to teach them goal setting. There was this great study, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago now, done in the Midwest, one of the Midwest Plains states, Nebraska, Kansas, and they took a school system where there were 2 classes of first graders. Right. And those classes of first graders stayed together for 1st through 6th grade. Right. Same kids went together. And what they did was one group of kids, one class, got the regular curriculum. The other class got the regular curriculum plus goal setting. And here's all it was. In the first day of class, teacher said, listen, kids, this year we're going to learn our ABCs, and we're going to learn to count, and we're going to learn what a noun and a verb is. And then in 2nd grade, that group was and all year long, how are we doing with our goal of learning our ABCs and learning to count? Mm-hmm. And in the next year, in 2nd grade, this year we're going to learn to add and subtract, and this year we're going to learn what adjectives and adverbs are.
Mm-hmm, right.
And every year for 6 years, one group got a little bit of goal setting. The other group just got the curriculum as always. Mm-hmm. Fast forward to when they graduated high school. The group with goal setting that was taught goal setting when they were young, now, if you know anything about college admissions, you'll realize how big a deal this is. Mm-hmm. Average SAT scores were 150 points higher.
Across the board. See that's gold bullion right there. Yeah.
All right. 150 points is the difference between Podunk University and Harvard.
I was just going to say that's the difference between Ivy League and a community college. You know?
Yeah. No, it's huge.
Okay, so
huge. So you can't give your kids goals, but you can teach them goal setting.
And see that, yay, there's a t-shirt there, D, write that down. Okay. That's good.
I want my kid to be a doctor someday. Well, your kid's got to decide that.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, right. You can't decide it for them, right?
So if we start with sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. What's your question?
Well, if we start with our personal goals, do we also what is there a form how we should write it, or I just say like I want to move in a new apartment, or I say I want to move in an apartment, this square meters, this color, this neighborhood, this city, this town, this like
so
how do you form?
Let's talk about what most people call SMART goals, which is an acronym. I changed the acronym to SMARTYS. Your goals should pass the SMARTYS test, SMARTYS. I added a Y and an S. So arguably the most important is specific. The more specific, the better. I want to live in a big house is very nice, but I want to live in a big house on the Raritan River at the Jersey Shore, right? So you can start to get it. It's the more specific, the better. So as you were saying, Diana, I want it to be in this number of square feet. I want it to be this size. I want it to be this location. Absolutely. The more specific, the better. So that's the S. M is it has to be measurable. Right? I joke that my wife doesn't want much. She just wants more. Well, more isn't measurable. Oh, I'm going to take such crap later.
You're screwed, but go ahead.
So it has to be measurable. So I want this size house. I want to do this. More specific, and it has to be very measurable. The only goals that are okay to not be measurable are what I call forever goals. I want to be the best father I could possibly be. That's something you always work on and never achieve, right? Those are forever goals, and that's a separate category of goal setting. And then the A and the R are very related. They have to be achievable and realistic, right?
That's probably a huge piece of it, right?
Right. So I could have a goal of wanting to play in the NBA, but I have a significant lack of height and a significant lack of talent. That's just that one's not going to happen. It does not fit the realistic, and I have an excess of age. That's another one that's going to make it not happen. So achievable and realistic, and then arguably also the most important is timely. You have to put a date on it. I'm going to achieve this by a certain date. And because what we said earlier, a goal without a date is a dream. As soon as you put a date on it, and me, the guy that wrote the book, literally, right? Talk about being guilty of his own stuff. I remember saying that I was going to retire in the next 3 to 5 years, until I realized I'd been saying that for 3 to 5 years.
I keep kicking this ball down the court, right?
And as soon as I put a date on it, it happened.
Right.
Okay.
As soon as I put a date on it, it happened. So got to be timely. And then I added on a Y and an S. The Y is they need to be yours. A very wise man once told me, you're either a part of your own plan or you're part of someone else's. And, a couple of things that are interesting about that. So first of all, make sure they're yours. What I find, if Diana, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to be a little bit sexist. And I know things have been changing a lot in the last 20 years, boy, oh boy, in a good way. But we used to, when we did goal setting, we used to have to remind the women in the room to have their own goals, because they had a tendency to have goals for their kids first, their family second, and themselves third. Men are selfish pigs. We want all the stuff for us. and we had no problem with that. And that problem's less now than it was 20 years ago, but it's still around. And it's important to make sure the goals are yours. And something
I think that, Kevin, that yours piece also sometimes has to do with like societal norms and mores.
exactly. Yep.
You know what I mean? Because it's not like women are less ambitious. You know what I mean?
No, not at all. Not in the least. And different cultures, different issues. One of the things I realized one day, I was doing my annual goal setting class for my clients, and I was teaching that line, that either you're part of your own plan or you're part of someone else's, and a little light bulb went on over my head. And I thought to myself, who else can I make part of my plan, with or without their consent?
Right.
So think of this. One of the things I started doing that year, that was, 10, 15 years ago, and I did it every year since. I would sit down with 4 or 5 people that clearly knew they were part of my plan. And I would say to them, listen, Vic, this year, I'm holding you responsible to find me 2 new clients this year. That's your job. I'm giving you a task. I'm going to hold you to it. And clearly, if there's anything you want me to do to help you, I'm happy to do it. But I'm
sure it wasn't on one side. It wouldn't be a one-sided thing.
No, do you know what's amazing, Vic? I've done that. Let's say I've done it 10 years with 5 different people, with 5 people each year. So I've done it 50 times. Maybe 3 people have asked me to reciprocate.
That's amazing.
And almost all of them did what I asked.
How do you account for that?
I started to say never underestimate the stupidity of the American public.
Okay, this is going viral, bro.
Can I just cut it without the context?
This is going viral, bro.
Because most people don't have their own goal setting is the real answer. Most people are willing to help. Here's what I know. Most people are nice people, and most people are willing to help. Right? It's the obnoxious ones that are loud that you think that there's more of them. But the vast majority of us are nice people, and they're willing to help. If you just have to ask.
Right. Yeah.
Most people don't have but what we know is there's only about 2 to 3% of the American public that practices active goal setting.
So you're not
going to have their own goals. So that, they always know I'll help them if I can, but they've got to have something they want, and they don't know what they want.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
It really is the truth.
Yeah.
It really is the truth. And so that's the why is they should be your goals. And the S in SMARTYS is they should be a stretch. They should be a stretch. You should push yourself just a little bit. If you, for example, made $100,000 last year, setting a goal for 80, why? What's the point?
Right.
I'm not sure I get it, but I see people do it. And that's why I decided to add that last S and make the goals SMARTYS goals.
But that makes sense too, because you're actually trying to move forward, right? I mean, all of this is about the movement forward. You set goals to move forward. You don't set goals to either stay where you are or move backward. I mean, that doesn't
absolutely
logically make sense.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I have many questions. You said that very few people practice goal setting, but I'm sure every one of us, at least at some point of our lives, tried to do it, right? Didn't do it perfectly, didn't do it right, but tried to do it somehow. And many didn't succeed, right? So there were goals written sometime in December, January, and then, fast forward to the end of the year, they forgot about them, whatever happened. So for those people who struggled with following through, and how do you have advice or how, because I guess it also builds a feeling that I've set goals so many times, I haven't achieved any, or I have achieved one, two, but you have to break this pattern.
I want to tell a very quick story and then come back to your question.
Okay.
Perfect. Go.
I'm doing goal setting one training one day, and I have people, old clients that every year would come back for goal setting classes in December. And I had someone who was sitting right in front. I can still picture him. And he said, "This stuff doesn't work." I said, "Really?" I said, "Tell me a little more." He said, "Well, last year I set 27 goals and I only made 24 of them. So you see, it doesn't work." Vic, I swear to you.
Now there's an overachiever.
Well, there's a glass half emptier if I ever saw one.
Oh my God.
And I said, "Tell me about the 3 that you didn't make it." He said, "Well, 2 of them I came close and 1 I missed by a mile. So you see, it doesn't work." Now, Diana and Vic, can we agree that if you set 27 goals and made 24, the stuff works?
Yes.
I think any breathing human being would be able to say that it works. Yeah.
And he didn't understand why the whole class was laughing.
That's funny.
You just can't make it up. You just can't make it up. So to get back to Diana's question, so does goal setting always work? No, nothing always works.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing always works. But what we know is it works most of the time. It works better than not setting goals. Most of the time, the people that set that, where it's that set goals and fail, it's one of two things. Either they never put it in writing, they never made time commitments, they never told other people about their goals to hold them accountable, because Lord knows accountability and responsibility are not big issues in our country anymore.
No, they're not. That's a whole nother. That's going to be a whole nother.
That's a whole other podcast. So they didn't do it, quote unquote, the right way. They just told themselves, "I have a goal." That's like the people on New Year's Eve that say, "I'm going to go on a diet this year and lose 20 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one reason that they don't do it, or they just have no commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Or there's just no commitment. And I had a client one year, needed to lose 150 pounds. Now that's a big deal.
As a person.
That's losing a person. Exactly. And he kind of set the goal to lose 12 or 13 pounds a month.
That's
do it. He had to set his goal to do it in a year.
Mm-hmm. It
ended up taking him 14 months. Was that a failure?
No.
That's a monstrous success.
No. Yeah.
That's a voluminous success. And
that's a slam dunk. Yeah.
Right. So that's huge. That's not, but that's like the guy who said, "I only made 24 out of 27 goals."
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So then also the goal setting has to be assessed in a realistic way.
But it's interesting. One of the things, let me talk about this guy that needed to lose 150 pounds. There was a couple of things. One is he got up in front of his office and said, "Listen, for this year, if you ever see me in the break room reaching for a donut, you have permission to slap it out of my hand. If you're going out to McDonald's for lunch, don't invite me." And blah, blah, blah. He made commitment. He went public.
Mm-hmm.
He went public. Now, one of the things we also teach is, excuse me.
Sure. Well, while Kevin is taking a break, I just want to say thank you for everyone who is participating and commenting. Matthew Therino, I see your comments. Thank you for taking the part. And for everyone who is listening or watching us, if you want to be a guest on our podcast, please reach out to me or reach out to Vic, and we'll make it happen.
All good.
Okay. Yeah.
So one of the things I teach is you have to reward your inner child because we all have an inner child.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a really big goal, like losing 150 pounds, that's a big goal. That's really hard, right? Because you lose 10 pounds and nobody notices.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You know,
You
if
gotta
any of the three of us lost 10 pounds, people would ask us if we were sick.
Yeah.
But if they lose 10 pounds, nobody notices. It's hard. It's daunting. And there are a lot of habits that have to be broken.
Right.
A lot of habits that have to be broken. But I talk about break them up into small goals. So like I said, he had a goal of, 12 or 13 pounds a month. That's breaking it up. But you have to reward your inner child. And he said to me, would it be okay if every time I lose 10 pounds, because he said, the thing I'm going to miss is ice cream. If every time I lose 10 pounds, can I go have a big hot fudge sundae? Now that sounds like it's kind of, against the goal. Just a little bit, a little counterproductive. And I said, but I understood it because I'm an ice cream guy myself. So I said, here's the thing. You can do that, but do it every time you lose 12 pounds so you'll have a net 10. For those of you who have ever dieted, if you've lost 10 pounds and suddenly have a lot of ice cream, you're going to gain 2 pounds.
Yeah, easy. Yeah.
So, and that's exactly what he did. And because he needed to reward himself every time he lost a chunk of weight.
And that helped them stay on the track. Right.
And you have to know, if you have that kind of a goal, any kind of a long-term goal, it never happens in a straight line.
Right. Okay.
You're going to hit plateaus. And because that just happens. You can do the same diet. You can go on that diet of only eating soup and salad, and you will lose weight. But you're not going to lose the same 5 pounds a week every week for 20 weeks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You'll lose a lot the first few weeks, and then you'll hit a plateau, and you might not lose weight for 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. You've got to fight through the plateaus, because you will start if the diet is the right diet, you will pick up the loss again. Same thing if you're working out, right? You go into the gym, and the first month in the gym, man, you can see all of a sudden you got muscles that you didn't know you had.
Yeah, right.
Right. And all of a sudden, you go from lifting, 50 pounds to lifting 100 pounds. Well, that doesn't mean that a month later you're going to be lifting 150.
Right.
You hit plateaus, and you have to realize that those plateaus happen before you can start climbing again.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So it has to be something small to reward yourself, like to get emotional, or what's it called? Emotional reward, right? It doesn't have to be big, because let's say for me, I'm learning to become a breathing teacher now. It's like my side hustle, and I want to teach people. I want to work with people, and of course I understand that from point zero, I have 0 clients. I won't get retreats, for with 20 people. It's not gonna happen. So first I will get people, for I will practice with people for donation, then for money, then I might get some groups and stuff, and online, offline. So, and there's there are a lot of things before I start doing my retreats. But let's say I have my first goal should be small. It would be to get 10 people practices with 10 people for donation. So after those 10 people, I get my emotional reward. It can be something small, like treating myself in a spa, right?
Sure.
Okay. So it doesn't have to be big.
No, it doesn't have to be huge.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's okay to start small.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with starting small.
I think, in many cases, that I know from my own personal experience, that has helped tremendously. And like you say, it's that gradual thing, and then you do plateau almost in everything. I mean, I remember when I first started playing guitar.
Every business plateaus.
Everything.
Every exercise program plateaus. Every weight loss program plateaus. And you have to fight yourself through the plateaus.
And it can be difficult. Like I was saying, like when I was playing guitar, I got to that plateau, and I'm like, holy crap, I am in the same place that I've been for almost a year, and then 2 weeks later, boom, it exploded.
And part of it, I call it, you have to embrace the plateau.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point.
You have to, instead of getting frustrated by it, you have to embrace it and realize that you have achieved the next plateau. And that once you start climbing, there's another plateau coming, and you can recognize it when you get there, push through it to make it as high as you can.
Right.
But when that plateau happens, embrace it. It's nice to be at a higher level.
I like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's another related subject that I know Vic likes to talk about.
Oh,
because I saw you talk about it the other day on LinkedIn, which somehow affects goal setting, which is procrastination.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to write a book on procrastination. I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
I love you.
And I promise you, my wife will tell you I'm the king of procrastination. But there are some things you can do to get around procrastination, especially when you know it's one of your issues. Some people don't have the issue. I don't understand how they don't have that issue.
Some people don't. You're right.
I don't get it. I don't get it. They just weren't brought up right. So I'll give you a few general ones, and I'll give you a couple for specifics when you have a project that you have to do that you keep procrastinating, that you keep putting off. So when you have the project you have to do, I don't care whether it's something at work, you've got an assignment that you've got to do that has to get done. You need to write a business plan for your next business, or whether it's at home, you got to clean out the attic, whatever it is. I'm a big to-do list guy. And your to-do list has to be prioritized, most important, and first thing you're going to do tomorrow morning is on top. And there's some rules of to-do lists. We don't have to get into them, I don't think. But one of them is anything that doesn't get done today, because you never finish everything on the list, right? Anything that doesn't get done today must have a higher number tomorrow. So eventually the things you're procrastinating move to the top of the list, and then you have to do it.
Right.
So I like that.
That's a very good one.
I like that too.
The other thing I like with projects is the 20-minute contract. I love the 20-minute contract. When I have some big thing to do, the clean out the attic thing, for example, or write up a business plan, whatever it is, I promise myself, I tell myself I'm just going to work at it for 20 minutes. Because I can do anything for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I can literally do anything for 20 minutes. And that gets me started. And then one of three things happens, right? Most of the time, when I look up to check the time, an hour and a half has passed and I've gotten halfway through the project.
Right.
And it was just, I tricked myself into getting started. Sometimes it is something I hate to do and I've got my eye on the clock. And when I get to 20 minutes, I negotiate another 20-minute contract with myself. And I do 2 or 3 20-minute contracts again and get it started. And every once in a while, you do the 20 minutes and stop. And then maybe tomorrow or the next day, you do another 20. But at least it gets you started. And the idea of the 20 minutes, and that last outcome is the rare one. Almost always, you end up working for a lot more than 20 minutes.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
So I love the 20-minute contract. Some general ones for killing procrastination. One is make your deadline public. Make your deadline public. As soon as you make the deadline public, you're committed.
Yeah.
Public, like in a group chat?
I'm going to hold you accountable.
Public can be letting my wife know I'm going to clean the attic by next Sunday. Public can be letting your coworkers know at the office.
Okay.
Public can be making an announcement in the newspaper. I don't care what public is for you, but
Right.
Make it public. So that's one. Clearly, breaking a big task into small pieces is another.
Right.
Do the tough parts during the time of day that you're high energy.
Yeah.
Right. I know that I'm high energy late in the day. and that I struggle getting started in the morning. So I don't plan to do big, difficult stuff in the morning. It just doesn't work for me.
Right. It's not going to, yeah. You already know that about yourself. So
I know that about me. The other one is think people forget. They take these tasks on and they think that there's nothing they can do about it. They have to do it. Get some help. Who said you have to do it on your own? Who said it was a one-person job?
Well, I'm a big fan of that.
There's and Vic, you'll get this. The hardest thing I have to teach business owners when I do private coaching is delegation skills.
Mm-hmm.
Because they think they can do everything better themselves. So they might as well just do it.
And all entrepreneurs do. I didn't learn that. It took me 15 years to learn that.
Get help, delegate. And what people don't understand, people think only the boss can delegate. Delegation, you can not only delegate down, you can delegate sideways. You can even delegate up. You can delegate up. In my old company, back in the 70s and 80s, I owned a steel company. And I had a guy, Joe, he would have a pile of paperwork that would have to get done. And he would come over to my desk and he'd say, listen, I've got an appointment where I can go close a big deal, or I can get this paperwork done. Which do you want me to do? And I would say, just give me your damn paperwork. I'll get it done. And what he was doing was delegating up to me.
Yeah, right. Because he knew you were much more interested in getting.
Oh, he was smart. He was smart. Now he thought I didn't understand what he was doing. I fully understood what he was doing, and I was happy for it.
Right.
But what he was doing was delegating up.
Yeah.
So delegation is not only down and only sideways.
Right.
That's such a good point.
So a quick story, Vic. You'll get this. In New Jersey, in the town of Red Bank, there's a place called the Molly Pitcher Inn.
Of course,
you've been there.
I've been there.
And it's right on the marina.
Mm-hmm.
So it's beautiful, big glass windows. I was having lunch with a client. I was facing the marina. He was looking into the restaurant. And all of a sudden, I started laughing. And he said, "What's so funny?" I said, "Turn around and what do you see?" He said, "I see the biggest boat in the marina heading out to sea." And I said, "Okay, tell me what else you see." He said, "Well, it's a big boat." I said, "Okay." I said, "What's the name of the boat?" The name of the boat was Delegation. And I said, delegation is how that guy could afford the biggest boat in the marina, number one. And number two is delegation is how he can afford to be taking it out on a Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah. Amen. That's exactly it.
Yeah, I can't make this up. This is so cool.
And then my last procrastination tip is set up a reward for yourself. When I get it done, I'm going to do this. I'm going to have my spa day. When I get it done, I'm going to have the big ice cream sundae. Whatever it is, doesn't matter. But give yourself a reward for getting it done. Yeah, because sometimes just that will get you going.
Yeah, that's important, though. I mean, we all, everybody needs to feel some kind of an acknowledgement for an accomplishment, right? I mean, in some way.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So there's my procrastination tips from the king of procrastination.
Bro, that was awesome. I mean, look, I know exactly where you're coming from because there are things I have, but I don't want to do that. The one that I love the most is that it's got to move up. You got to move it up on the list because how many times have I just jumped over it again? You know what I mean?
No,
I was like, I'm going to leave it right where it is and I'm going to just jump over it.
Nope. Yeah. The rule is everything has to have a higher number tomorrow.
Right. I love that. I really do. I love that.
Yeah, me too. Because there are some things on my to-do list that just go down and down, just like somewhere all down the list over there, and I don't even know that they're there.
Yeah, right.
My core philosophy always was: don't put off for tomorrow what you can put off till the day after tomorrow.
Exactly.
And there you have it.
But that, quite frankly, didn't work for me in business. So I had to come up with some other things that might be a little better.
Oh God. Yeah, we've had some fun, Kev, through the years. We definitely have.
Yeah, I loved our conversation. It was so valuable for me personally, and I think for everybody else who will listen to us or who will listen to this podcast, because we will post it on streaming services like Audible, Apple Podcast, the Spotify, and like a list of other podcasts. So it will be everywhere, and I hope that many people will spend a few minutes to listen to it and to really understand, like maybe change something in their life, even if it's one small thing, one small twist, their life will get better already.
And one of the things too, when we post it too, Kev, is we'll put the connection to the book, right? If anybody wants to get the book.
The book is available. Let me just I don't make money on the book, so you buy it, don't buy it. If you're going to buy the book, get it on Amazon. It is available.
Okay.
Get the paper version. Don't get the Audible version. Don't get the Kindle or Nook version. Get the hard version. Okay. The reason is there are exercises in the book that are best done pen and paper.
Got it.
Listening in the car is not as effective as this is one book. Get the hard book. Get the real book.
Got it.
Yeah, because it's a textbook.
Yeah, right. I love it.
Yeah.
So it's it's a couple of dollars more, but it's I don't know, it's $18 or $20 for the book, whatever it is.
You're going to commit to it. What's a couple bucks? Who cares?
If you buy it and do it, it's worth 1 million times that. If you buy it and don't do it, it's flushing money.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Right. Like anything else. Right. Like anything else.
Yeah. So we're almost our time is almost up. Yeah. And I just want to say this: to ask this question, if there was only one thing you'd like people to take away from this stream, what would it be?
Okay, we are coming up to we are in the height of goal setting season. People don't realize goal setting has a season. It can be done anytime, but it kind of naturally feels right about now. Best thing they can do is pick a date. Take a weekend between now and the end of the year, maybe just after the first of the year, and carve out some time, preferably with their spouse or significant other, to sit down and work on personal goal setting and get that part done.
Right.
Something really, nice to do by a fire with a glass of wine, and you can have an enjoyable time of it.
Yeah.
And by the way, you find out a lot about each other when you do that.
I love that.
Yes. And the title of the book is Goal Setting Bootcamp, Getting from Where You Are to Where You Want to Be. So just making sure everybody gets it.
And we'll post it too when we repost, All right, this is awesome. Kev, aside from the fact that it's fantastic to see you.
It is so good to see you, brother Vic. I missed you.
I know. We got things to catch up on when you get back in town, or you know what, screw it. When I get down to you, I'll come to you.
I got to tell you right now, it's way better for you to come to me than for me to come to you.
Amen, brother.
I watched that game last night. It wasn't pretty.
We're gonna hook this up, man. It's so good to see you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin, for coming, and thank you, everyone, for listening.
You've been a pleasure to work with.
Thank you. Well, we'll do it again because we planned one.
And Vic told me to
next
say
year.
that. Oh, don't worry, Kev. Check's in the mail.
Where in my check too? Yeah, right.
But naturally.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
We're now.